I'm Emily Ann Page, and I'm here to present design e-commerce packaging that sells in 6 steps. And I have been doing product development for years. I have developed products that are currently on grocery stores all across the world. I've received design awards, and I could bore you with a lot of information about packaging design and getting products to sell either online or in retail. I've actually had #1 bestsellers of category on Amazon.com. But that's boring information. I'm just telling it to you so you can listen to me and believe me when I say that I know a lot about packaging. So when I show you this picture right here, I wanna ask you, what is the difference between these two products? So they're both water. They actually both have the same amount of ounces inside. But you might know that Nestle, if you go into a grocery store, is gonna cost very little. It's gonna cost 89 cents. That's how much I paid recently at a grocery store. But if you buy them in a large bulk pack, you can get it for even less than that. Voss, on the other hand, was selling for $3.99 at the store that I went to. This was in a plastic bottle. And I'm telling you that because you should realize that packaging makes a difference in what you can sell an identical product for, especially when you're doing it in online commerce. And I want to come back to Econ 101. I have a very boring, useless degree from USC with a master's degree in economics. I promise you I don't use it at all, except for in this one slide. Number 1, if you ever took Econ 101, you'd remember that a perfect competition is on one side of a competitive market and a monopoly is on the other side. A monopoly can charge a whole lot more because you have exclusivity. There's barriers to entry. Meaning in your business or your product category, you can actually make more money if you have something unique that other people can't just copy. And so I'm gonna get into one of the first mistakes that you guys will see over and over and over again in online commerce. I see it here on Amazon and I see it on people's websites. They get into selling products in e-com and they do a Me Too product. A Me Too product is one that is identical to a competitor. It just has maybe different packaging. And the problem with this is it creates a price war. Anyone can do your product, and of course, the short-term return on your work might be cash because you got into the market, but the long-term return will eventually be whittled away if you're at all making profit because there's no barrier to entry. Anyone else can take the exact same thing and slap a label on it and say that they are also a manufacturer of your type of product. So that really means that, and I'm gonna warn you, Amazon and Google and lots of different big companies, they can copy you too. They can actually dominate in your own market and they have more data and power than you do. So your #1 solution I'd like to recommend is that you create a unique brand story that builds trust. It is the most powerful long-term thing you should be investing in if you own a product business. Listen to me. First of all, what makes a brand? It is basically the visual cues and written commitments that you consistently show up with. And imagine if you had a friend and that friend looked a certain way. That's how you know that it's your friend and not your enemy. He dresses the same consistently, he does the same things. And because of repeatedly he shows up and he does the same stuff, you start to recognize and have a feeling about him. And you know what he looks like and you know what his character is gonna be. In an e-com world, you don't see the face of your customer, but you better believe that your customer sees your face, and that is what your brand is, your packaging. And they will associate your brand commitments, like the stuff you say you're gonna do and what you did, with how you look. So you want to basically create and define what you visually are gonna look like and show up as, which involve logos, brand identity, colors, fonts, all of those things, and consistently show up with that so people can recognize you. And #2, you need to make some promises to your customers and actually fulfill them. So this is important. The way you go about it is you identify who your target customer is and what their core values are, of course. And then you need to assign your own values, like which of your commitments, let's say they believe in 10 things and you believe in 5 of those things. Say on your website, say on your packaging what those commitments are, and then hold yourself to it. And I say cheesy things that your eyes are the fastest connection to your hand where someone would want to buy something. So get into the heart of your client, your customer, and it will increase the long-term brand equity of your product. So that's #1 recommendation. So mistake #2 I see people making is that they make illegible packaging artwork. Here is a literal screenshot that I took today of products. You know, I can't read that Axe packaging image that's on there. Old Spice right there, that was clearly designed for retail. I can't even read it in this global space, but that lotion, that women's anti-chafing deodorant lotion, I can read the word lotion right on the front of the packaging. This packaging was clearly designed more for online commerce versus some of these other items that were designed for retail. So if you are designing your packaging, make sure it is legible. So what does that mean? Make a clear description of the product. Half the time I don't even know what some of these products actually contain on the inside. And if no one knows who your brand is yet, they will not know what your product is inside. So make it legible what it is. Make your logo recognizable. So avoid cursives that are completely hard to read. You know, in this modern world, everyone's reading type font. No one knows cursive. It might look cool, but you need to be sure people can recognize it. Use big shapes to grab attention because the image of your product, although designed on a computer, once it's printed will be moved to be this small. So what looks cool to you now when you're looking at your product exclusively in a silo won't end up working necessarily when it's zoomed in really super small. So make sure you use big shapes, big colors, even graphics, product photos, photos of the actual literal thing that will be inside. And that will help to grab visual attention. And of course, use contrasting colors to draw attention. So like, let's say you use an orange box, you want to use an opposite color to be able to draw attention on your packaging. And don't have too many call outs. Gosh, you're gonna distract me from what's most important. You need to make sure the client can read what they're trying to find when they're using Google search, or they're even using the Shopify search on your own website or Amazon. So reduce the number of call outs. Don't tell them every single thing that you can possibly provide, and place call outs in the same spot. So if you're using flavors, sorry, I'm getting my emails today. If you hear that little ding in the background, but place call outs in the same spot. So the flavor is always in the right corner in a circle. So don't get crazy and creative, make it really legible. Mistake number 3 is that these photos can be awful. And so I took the same photo and I said, this is hilarious. I believe this is a reseller for this Axe antiperspirant deodorant, but you can clearly tell that the photo is really hard to see because it is a literal picture and it's tilted sideways. On the right, we have a Kel's Superbly antiperspirant, and it's on a non-clear white background. And that black line in the background of that literal actual product photo is actually distracting from that reseller's product. So your solution, number 3, is to have high-end mock-ups. So here I have demonstrated, gosh, how nice and clean can a mock-up be? And I have worked in this industry for years. I can tell you statistically, we get better results and click rates if it's gonna be on Amazon, if it's a 3-dimensional mock-up and not a real product photo. I can't speak for your website because it really depends upon how you display it and whether or not people are clicking on lifestyle photos. But if the competition is all showing product photos, 3D mock-ups in our experience have done better. I also obviously need to tell you, clean white background, front-facing position, make sure that the lighting is great, clear visibility of the text, and use iconography in lifestyle photos, as well as product listing data, like the written text, later. Secondary, third, fourth pictures can be other types of pictures, real product photos, granular things. You can use, again, like the product page can actually help to get attention, because remember, if someone's looking in search to shop, they've typed in the text. The text is what brought them to your image, and now it's time for your image to shine. So it needs to be legible. Don't get it too confusing. The other thing with contrasting colors that you should just note is that if you really want to grab attention, if you want to create calmness, you want the colors to be similar, same color family. So your brand should all have the same color family. Winter tones, jewel tones. If you're a person who has never heard of those concepts, go Google it. But so you want to stay brand consistent in order to be able to create symmetry and cohesion in your brand. When you grab attention, use contrasting colors. So you can see this is a color wheel over here, and the exact opposite color is the one that creates the most conflict and therefore will attract the human eye fastest. The human eye is attracted to the unique colors. So if everything's red and you have a black dot, we're all gonna look at the black dot. If you have a black surface and a red dot, you're all gonna look at the red dot. It's what's different that the human eye will notice. So on your packaging, if you have a call out like gluten-free or made in the USA or whatever your special promise is, on your packaging, that tiny little call out should be in a contrasting color to maximize attention. Now, mistake number 4 is that I've seen designs done without considering where they will be sold. And it's a temptation we all have. We all want to tell our graphic designer to design something cool that we personally really like. But let's be honest, we're here to make money and to design for business. And what really matters is what matters to your customer and not to you. So when you're designing, don't just design according to your own taste, and don't just design, looking at something on a computer, on your own computer screen, because you are gonna ignore the fact that, like I said, it's the contrast that stands out. So you actually have to design with the competition in mind. And how I recommend you do that is with solution number 4, design planning for placement. And that means if you're gonna go into retail, take a picture of the competitive category. If you're gonna go and sell in online commerce, take a picture of the search bar where you're trying to compete and see what else is popping up. You can see here that these are really bold colors, and just naturally, if this isn't even your category, you can see that certain colors are popping off the shelf compared to everything else that's white, black, yellow, light green. There's a ton of that. So it's the colors that are the most different that will stand out. So when you look at your competition, that's what you need to be comparing your design to, because you will stand out if you're different, and that your shapes and your colors are really drawing attention to what you're trying to sell. So just to be sure that point was clear, pull up your packaging artwork in the search bar, search results, and you can usually use that to help guide you to make any last minute changes on your packaging design so you can stand out. So mistake number 5, and don't forget, we only have 6 mistakes, so we're very close to the end, and the 6th is a doozy. So stay tuned. So mistake number 5 is that you can pick the structural packaging based on what your co-packer gives you. And that's the easiest temptation because it's the most affordable thing you could do, and your co-packer will be very happy and obliging to give you exactly what they're already doing. They don't want to do something different. They might even charge you money to be able to use a different type of packaging. So we've all seen stuff that's been purchased on Amazon or on an online website that comes with a box, literally direct from China, and all it has is like an international stamp on it, and it doesn't have any American packaging. That experience obviously is not very memorable, and the packaging goes in the trash. But solution number 5, if you really want to stand out to sell, is design, to reduce breakage. So like do custom packaging is what I'm saying. Design to reduce breakage and reduce shipping costs. So make that actually more important than the first priority of just accommodating your co-packer. So look at the shipping fees that you'll be charged. If you're selling on Amazon, Amazon has weight and size fees. So maybe consider designing packaging to go the maximum of what's available on there. And you can just Google search, Amazon FBA shipping requirements to find out what those fees are. And I'm sure many of you have thought of that, but if you're selling on Shopify, or you're shipping direct from your own website, a lot of people I've met actually have never gone to the US Postal Service and reduced the number of options that they're giving to their customers to just certain sizes in order to maximize the savings available to them. Give them one fast shipping option and one regular shipping option and reduce the box sizes. So design your packaging specifically to optimize the value that the customer will have. If you have a lot of drop shopping cart interactions, oftentimes it's because the freight is expensive for the customer. So if you have your customer pay freight in full, by designing packaging to really make costs less and reduce breakage will actually benefit you and the customer in the long run. Be sure to test it out. I also have another article on my blog about how to design indestructible packaging for e-commerce, and you can check it out on Start to Sold. The other fifth thing, besides just taking whatever the factory will give you, is to treat structural packaging as a chance to change the game. We talked about competitive market and a monopoly, and packaging by itself, structural packaging is what I'm talking about, not the visual outside, but the structure can be a way that you can stand out against your competition. If everyone's selling in glass jars, what if you sold in a squeezy pouch? If everyone is selling everything in vitamins in a bottle, what if you did it in a stand-up pouch? If everybody is selling everything in a corrugate box, what if you wrapped it in cloth? If you go outside the box, you can stand out as being different. So reach out, research how the customer is actually using your product. Look into alternative manufacturing options. So start thinking about who could do something for me to help solve this problem in a better way than how other people have, and consider buying packaging direct and then shipping it to your co-packer and having them pack it up. Or you could go to a 3PL who might do it for you. So here's an example of a company that completely changed the game in peanut butter, one of my favorite things in the world. They actually thought about the fact that peanut butter was an old way of doing business. A lot of glass jars and peanut butter, like Jiffy and Skippy, they just dominated the market. Justin's not only came in with different types of nut butter, but they also put them into these squeezy pouches, which you'll see on the left of my slide. And that by itself changed the game, because now people could just take peanut butter with them to go to soccer if they're a sport athlete, or moms who want to put a healthy snack in their kids' lunches could just grab it and go. So just by changing the packaging, Justin's peanut butter took off, became at the front of Starbucks at checkout. They were able to go everywhere just by thinking differently about structure. And there's a lot of different types of materials that you could use. So don't just use what you're familiar with. Explore different categories of packaging, and maybe that by itself can change the game for you. The last point that I want to make is that sometimes people just focus on savings in the short run over long-term brand equity. And I understand that maybe choosing the cheapest thing is really going to help you get going. But as soon as you get your feet underneath you, consider brand equity. Because what are you going to do with this company? Are you going to run it for the rest of your life, or are you going to try to sell it in the future? Either way, the most value is going to come if people actually believe that you're a brand that'll be there for the long run, and if they really care about what you have going on. So utilize your packaging to build lifetime value. If it costs a little bit extra to print your website or to print a QR code on the interior of the packaging where the person opens up the flap to be able to see your product, and it drives them to your website to be able to see instructions or a video, wow, that's a huge win. So the way you want to do it is not just to drive traffic, but incentivize traffic to your website and collect information. Give them a reason to go, whether it's promising discounts, new product information, discounts. Build brand equity by offering some type of value. And that's one thing you could do. The next is to clearly list your social media, making sure that it's listed somewhere and that you're actually actively engaging in the one place that you tell them to go. So you don't have to have a Twitter if you don't tweet. You don't have to have a TikTok if you don't talk. But I would recommend that where you do list stuff, engage with people, because that will help you in the long run. And lastly, if you really are trying to save money, I would just say add that extra 5 cents by paying for a sticker to slap it onto that corrugate plain boring box, and add a little bit of energy and feeling. Joke around a little bit. Say I know this is a simple box, but I was the cheapest on the market and I helped you to save money, and that's one of our core values. Learn more by coming to our website. So the creativity cost you maybe 5 cents, but it could have a lifetime value. You spend an extra dollar on packaging, but you end up gaining a client who buys every single month. What is that worth to you in the long run? Maybe $100 for the year, $1,000 over 5 years. That is where you need to be thinking, is about building long-term value, not just saving pennies. So in conclusion, those are the 6 steps that I would highly recommend for you to take in order to build long-term value in your company and be able to increase sales. If you want to reach out to me in the future, come to my website, emilyannpage.com. I also have a blog about product development and growing your products from start to sold, you're welcome to come join me there. And I also offer a free consult on my website to anyone who's watching this, and I will be happy to go over your packaging, talk about growing your business, because that's what I do for a living. So I hope you guys are having a great rest of your webinar, and thanks for listening to me for this short bit, and I will see you guys in the next, I'll be joining you and watching the next webinar. Thanks again. Bye.